What is up, my friends? It is Thursday night, even though all day I've told myself it's Friday. You're all very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. I hope you all enjoyed the video or the podcast that went out this morning with our friend David Lynch. Great journalist, really interesting chat. Of course, David, can only tell us what he knows, and as much as I'm frustrated by a lack of transfer activity, I certainly wouldn't put that on Mr. Lynch. I really enjoyed chatting with him, and I have to say he's a lovely guy as well off camera. Loads to go through tonight. We're going to be speaking about a couple of words from our coach after the training sessions over in the States. We're of course counting down to the Reds' first proper pre-season game, which is taking place tomorrow, and we will be live from about 11:50 tomorrow night, 11:50 p.m. to take you through that game. Tomorrow we'll have all the usual content as well. We'll have the late night agenda at 8:45. We'll have news video coming out about 5 o'clock, and lots to keep you up to date and occupied. So I hope you're all in good spirits this evening. We're going to get stuck into it now. I know you're probably saying, Craig, why the ranty thumbnails again? I am me at the end of the day, and I'm going to have my say on these things, and I think people are starting to get a bit frustrated. Ben has had a poll running in the background and asked, how do you feel about Liverpool's lack of transfer activity so far this summer? We've given you 4 options: still optimistic, relaxed, concerned, or very worried. And most of the votes so far are on the side of worried, whether it's very worried or concerned, and we'll discuss that of course as well. First super chat of the day came in from A Santino, thank you buddy, who said, are we too sentimental as a fan base? Is that why we're not chasing in on players when we should, or cashing in on players when we should? We should really be selling some of our big players. It's difficult to say we're too sentimental. I mean, there is definitely a question to be asked of letting some guys go for free. For instance, one thing that kept coming up in a couple of conversations I've had with David was that Liverpool felt like they've got value from Mohamed Salah's time at the club, whereas you and I and most fans would probably feel like every penny that we can get back in transfers is important. So sometimes, yes, mate, I would say we're a little bit too sentimental. Thank you, Mark, as well, for gifting a membership. Really kind of you, bro. Appreciate that. That one has gone to SG. Right, what else have we got? Guys, Hugh said August, do we not listen as a fan base? So, I felt like I've covered this subject many times, mate. So, Hugh says August is out of context a little bit. Hugh said August from the point of view of the window in general, talking about it coming to a crescendo in August. Now, it looks as if we are absolutely going to have a busy August, so in that regard, I'm not pushing back too much. But what I would say is, we now have the unenviable position of being the only club in the Premier League to have not made a summer signing. So that surely speaks volumes for itself. And people are still talking about lots of time, and I would push back again to say it's almost the end of July. We're almost into the last month of the transfer window, so we're now more than 50% of the way through it. No ins, no real outs, just a whole lot of nothing. That's what we thought we'd do for the thumbnail tonight, was just use all the phrases that we're all being told about, cautious, optimism, waiting around, monitoring, the usual stuff. Actions are what we want right now, and signings are badly, badly needed. Arne Slot did say today that even without a signing, he thinks Liverpool would be competitive next season, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want one, right? And he did say that he does expect some to come in. Did you get Connor to send you my tier list? No, because Connor's having a day off, mate. And again, you could have emailed me the tier list. Sometimes we have other priorities and other busy stuff to get through, Harry, mate. So no, Connor's off today, so I didn't get a chance to ask him about it, because I've honestly been balls to the wall all day today, trying to play catch up, trying to make sure that I was ready for this evening. I was also on Japanese Fan in Japan. I was on Sai's channel earlier on recording a video with him. A great hour chatting with him. Lovely guy. Keep an eye out for that dropping on his channel as well. Right. Oh, I've got something else that I wanted to share with you before we get stuck into the talk. So, there we go. Anfield Agenda mug. Got my mug finally ready here to show you, really, in person. So as you can see, the red on the inside, red handle, logo on 2 sides of it. And the good news, I found a supplier who's willing to play ball with us on the price of them. So we should be able to get those mugs available for about £12.99 in sterling. That is as good as we can go with them. So we'll let you guys know about them in the future, if and when they're going to be available. We're bringing a few over to the shows in the UK to give away to people, but we think we can finally get them down to a reasonable price point. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Right, loads and loads and loads to go through. Linking us to centre-backs. One we've missed out on, by the way, is that youngster from Juventus, Hoyson. Yeah, Bournemouth agreed a fee today of about £15 million to bring him in from Juventus. Fabrizio gave it the here we go. So that's another name that that we can probably scratch off our list. 13 quid ain't a bad price. It's not. Look, we listened yesterday to everybody, and in fairness to the supplier, they did play ball with us, so we're trying to get them out as cheap as we can. Honestly, at that price, we're making €3 before tax, so it's not like we're doing it for a huge profit. We just want people to be proud of, you know, drinking out of the coffee cup and, you know, feeling connected with the channel. So we're going to do our best to check in on the shipping costs and all that stuff and give you as much information as we can before we officially, I guess, start selling them. I cut my fart said, I thought Arne did brilliant in the presser. He's his own man, Arne Slot. He's never going to be a Jurgen. He's never going to, you know, make the room light up when he walks into it. But he is a very, very clearly spoken, to the point, good guy who knows his footy. So, yeah, I think he did well in the presser today as well. Most importantly, the feedback from the players about his training methods and stuff has been very interesting to listen to and hear, particularly about the difference in the style of keeping the ball a lot more rather than being as direct as we were perhaps under Jurgen at times. Harry, mate, all of our information is really easy to find. You see that link that we pin to the top of the chat every single stream? That link gives you all of our information, as well as the tickets. It gives you all of our social medias, our emails, everything that you need to reach out to us is there. So I can't spoon feed you everything, bro. Sometimes you need to do a little bit of work to find out stuff. Can we potentially beat Madrid next season in the Champions League? The link doesn't work. It works every time I click on it. Let me click on it now. 1 sec. It's funny how it opens straight up for me, isn't it, here, mate? And it says podcast, Cardiff tickets, Liverpool tickets, YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, X. Mad how it works, doesn't it? So I don't know, mate. Maybe check your own settings, but it definitely works. Not so sneaky Pete, how are you, bro? Said, Craig, what a difference between you and David. All I heard in his answers was club propaganda, no challenge to it. That's why we love and appreciate you. So, I have seen some of that feedback. Now, let me just say this about David. I think David is a lovely guy. And David gave us as much information as he has. He did work for the club previously, so obviously the club has a special place in his heart as well. But the way I look at these interviews when I sit down with a journalist, I'm not speaking to Michael Edwards. I'm not speaking to Richard Hughes. So my tone to a journalist will always be respectful, because they're giving us what they hear and what they know. Now, of course, I won't agree with everything that David or any journalist has to say, but they aren't there representing the football club, so I always keep that in mind with the tone I take with them in these conversations. David's only been respectful and friendly with me, and that's the way I'll be with him. I just bring him on to give another perspective on everything Liverpool, and I think he gives a very good perspective at that. I promise you, if I was sitting down with Richard Hughes or Michael Edwards, it would be a very different conversation, and it would be far more pushy from my side. But in these situations, I just feel like, you know, I'm here to just gauge another opinion from another Liverpool source. My thoughts, Slots, a yes man, said Stevie Boy. Same old talk. Training or assessing the squad, which not all the squad is there. At the end of the transfer window, they'll tell us there was no value in the market. Now that, mate, is my concern, Stevie Boy. That absolutely 100% is my concern as well. And I'm willing to be somewhat giving of the benefit of the doubt and understanding of the situation behind the scenes, the changing of the guard and all that stuff. But like yourself, mate, I'm not going to just take nonsense. I'm not just going to keep giving them the benefit of that. At some point, somebody has to say, clock's ticking, get moving. And I feel like we're getting to that point now. We are now 3 weeks away from the Premier League getting underway. 3 weeks until we kick off against Ipswich. 3 weeks and a couple of days and no new bodies. None. And the assessing of the squad line is one that particularly galls me, because he won't get to assess the full squad. The only acceptable way I think you can say he's assessing the squad is that he's looking at the fringe players, because the rest of it he'll know about. He'll know whether Trent's good enough, or Verge is good enough, or Szoboszlai is good enough. He'll know that. But it's the players who are running around the fringes that maybe he needs to make decisions on. That won't impact the transfer business, in my opinion. And the key areas of strengthening that we need to do, I think, are spelled out by almost everybody at this point. Centre-back, central defensive midfielder, and a forward. So you are right. I do agree with you, Stevie boy, but I disagree on Slot being a yes man. It isn't his job. It isn't his job to sort out the transfers. We need to remember that. It's on Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. Arne Slot was brought in to be a coach. So I don't think it's fair that we hold a lack of transfer activity against him. Craig, love the channel. Do you think Liverpool are working on deals behind closed doors? We've had signings out of nowhere before, said Jake. I hope so, Jake. I hope so, mate, because if not, it's a shit show. I don't know what other way to say it. Yeah, if we're not working on stuff, mate, and stuff doesn't happen soon, it speaks volumes, doesn't it? You know, all we can do is wait at this point. That's all we can do as fans. I mean, we can have our say, we can be frustrated, but ultimately we're at the behest of the club, and there's not one fibre of me believes that they're not working on it. Of course they're working on deals. The big question that we have to ask is, like you've said, will they see that value there? Will they deem it a good enough deal? So on the Lenny Yoro instance, I've been reading through the comments from the David Lynch interview, and a lot of people were challenging a couple of things. One, the wages. United fans are very sensitive about the wages of Lenny Yoro for some reason. I mean, the difference are like, he's on £116,000 a week, not 150. Okay, but he's still on over like 6 million quid a year roughly. And the 150 probably David meant with bonuses and stuff like that and appearances. So I understand that side of the Lenny Yoro transfer. I do, but I disagree and I push back on it about the no value in it, particularly with 1 year left on his deal with Lille. That doesn't really impact us. We don't care how long he has left on his deal with Lille. We'd have cared whether he'd be good enough to come into our squad or not. And that, as fans, is the question that we ask. So I would disagree strongly with the club, with Michael Edwards, with Richard Hughes, and with everybody who doesn't think that that guy was worth £50 million or €60 million. Very strongly disagree. I really hope FSG don't use Arne Slot as a scapegoat. If they strengthen the squad, let's get behind the boss. Exactly. He can't be allowed to be used as a scapegoat because it's his job to coach the players. We have to hold other people accountable. Right, a few bits of news updates though, because this is a new show. Hoffenheim have entered the stage, and so have Stuttgart, with interest in Sepp van den Berg. If anybody gets to the price Liverpool want, then I'm sure this deal is possible. Florian Plettenberg yesterday confirming Hoffenheim were interested in the Liverpool centre-back. Stuttgart have also come to the table. PSV Eindhoven and a few others. But nobody as of yet has triggered or paid the €20 million that Liverpool want, which is about £70 million. And for me, I think he moves this summer. I do. I think Liverpool will eventually get a number that they'll be happy with, and he'll move on. The situation with Trent, it's honestly, the vibes are feeling really positive right now. We don't know of a confirmation of Trent. We don't know of a confirmation of a length of contract. Well, there are lots of things being written to say that Trent fully wants to be here. Trent wants to be Liverpool captain down the line. Trent sees his future at Anfield. And of course, he's going to want a contract that reflects all of that. Hence the £300,000 or so that we've been seeing mentioned in the media. So let's wait and see what happens there. But I'm feeling confident that we'll get the Trent situation resolved. On Hoyson, Fabrizio Romano said, Hoyson to Bournemouth, here we go. Verbal agreement in place on an €18 million deal, plus sell-on clauses for Juventus. Hoyson has agreed a long-term deal at Bournemouth with medical tests to follow. Juventus plan to bid for Jean-Claire Todibo as soon as the Hoyson deal is signed. United fans probably pretty annoyed about that as well, because of course they were unable to sign Todibo because of the whole Nice thing and the ownership of Jim Ratcliffe there. Which does ask the question, and I've never really seen an answer to this. Why was it okay for Manchester City to sign the winger that they brought in, Savinho, from one of their own clubs? He was on loan at Girona, but he was owned by another one of Manchester City's clubs, or City Football Group clubs. Why was it that was okay, but United couldn't sign Todibo? I never understood that. It really didn't seem right. Now, of course, I don't want United to do well. I don't want them to strengthen. But it did seem a bit weird that one club was able to do it and the other club wasn't. Craig, can we relax about Trent to Madrid now? I would say no. Don't relax about it, because it's still an issue. But I would certainly say, if you said to me right now, Craig, how confident are you that Trent signs a new deal and stays at Liverpool? Out of 10, I'm giving you a good solid 7 at this point. You know, certainly feel it's far, far, far more likely we see Trent stay. And all the vibes and wording that's coming out seems to suggest that as well. Even speaking with David, you know, I said, of course, you don't know if it's definitive, but his feelings seem to be quite similar. I think we're all getting to that point now where we're a bit more relaxed about the Trent situation. The Mohamed Salah one, I don't expect any real twists and turns in that. I think he plays out his contract this year and leaves. The Virgil one, though, is the one that may go into the season. You know, the club and Virgil may wait a bit longer before discussing any potential extension for him, because remember, he'll be 34 at the end of the season when his contract expires. Bobby Clark. Ian Doyle of the Echo has said Bobby Clark is expected to stay at Liverpool this season and not go out on loan, which I can totally understand. Bobby Clark, even under Jurgen last year, was right on the periphery, right in the edge of being what you would class as an every week squad player. More often than not was available and on the bench. So I think that's an astute decision from Arne Slot, because Bobby Clark's a good footballer. An interesting thing coming out of Spain about Liverpool's interest in a goalkeeper is one we reported before about Andre Lunin, 25 years of age, and obviously wants out of Real Madrid because, well, he's second to Thibaut Courtois. The problem is the links to Liverpool would put him in the exact same position. Now, of course, I want Caoimhín Kelleher to stay, but if he left, Lunin would be amazing to bring in as a number 2. Same age as Caoimhín Kelleher. Would be very, very accustomed to playing on the biggest stages, of course, with Real Madrid. Was part of the team that won the Champions League, albeit he didn't play in the final. Courtois came back in for that one. So I'd have no problem with it, but I would say that it would be unlikely that you're going to see him jump from one second choice to another. He's probably going to want to move on as well, which is why the whole goalkeeping situation is a difficult one to gauge at the minute. It's not just Lunin's agent, mate. It's not. I promise you. He is one of the people Liverpool have looked at as a potential if Kelleher moves on. Because look, I guess you could make the pitch to him that if Alisson does pick up some injuries, and you know he did last season, that maybe game time will come your way, and certainly Alisson can play forever, even though he certainly has 4 or 5 years, I would say, left. I don't know. That's why it's going to be difficult if Kelleher leaves to find that keeper that we'd have the confidence in if Ali did pick up an injury. We had it with Caoimhín. I think he proved himself over the course of the season when he was playing, and I'd feel quite confident at Lunin if he came in. But again, I'm not saying it's happening. It's just being reported. See Newcastle going to offer a new contract. I think he turned it down because his head is back in Liverpool. Look, I feel really confident in saying this very clearly. Anthony Gordon wants to play for Liverpool. Anthony Gordon wants to move to Liverpool. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a world where he signs on a new deal at Newcastle. It doesn't mean that he does not like or appreciate his time, the Newcastle fans, and his development there. But whatever way the media want to jazz this up, however friendly they want to be to Eddie Howe and Newcastle about this situation, one thing is unquestionable and undeniable. At the very first opportunity, when they had any financial issues of their own making, they were willing to sacrifice him, and they went out of their way to try and sell him. That will not be forgotten by the player or by his agent. And by all accounts, it then got in his head, the idea of playing for Liverpool. He got excited about it. You've seen multiple reports to say he was speaking about it. He thought the move was going to go through. His agent was still trying at the end of June to push it through. It didn't happen, but he's in a position now at Newcastle where he holds a lot of leverage. Unbelievably, they signed him on a 3.5-year deal when they signed him from Everton, which means now he's inside the last 2 years. And we all know from our own situation at Liverpool that that's about the time you want to start getting a new deal on the table for somebody. So if I was representing Anthony Gordon right now, I would want a guaranteed release clause in the deal, particularly if it was Liverpool that came in for him. And I would certainly be making it that, yes, you can get your little PR win, Newcastle, if you want Anthony Gordon to stay around, but you're going to pay, and he needs an exit strategy if Liverpool come back in for him. So that's the only way I can see him signing a new deal at Newcastle. Maybe people disagree with me. That's how I see it anyway. They've already played their hand. They've already told him he was potentially surplus to requirements. And I don't care what way you pitch it and how many times Eddie Howe comes out talking about how much they like him. They were willing to sell him. Undeniable, undoubtable. He won't forget that. Would you? I wouldn't. Right, let's finish this poll anyway. We've had 1,500 votes almost, and 57% of you guys have said you're either concerned or very worried about the lack of transfer activity so far, and 43% are either relaxed or still optimistic about Liverpool's transfer situation. But does he start over Cody right now if he signs tomorrow? Gordon, I'm probably wrong on this, right? But I look at our forward line a little bit differently than I did in times gone by. Everyone's obsessed with inverted wingers. Everyone's obsessed with cutting inside and utilising the half spaces now. But what's to say that we couldn't have Gordon, Gakpo and Diaz competing across the front line? What's to say that Gordon couldn't be the one pushing Mohamed Salah on the right? Or maybe one of our players, let's say Lucho, hugs the touchline on the right with maybe Mohamed Salah or somebody playing a little bit more infield. So don't ever think about it from a would he replace X or Y, because every player has strengths and weaknesses that will be utilised or not utilised against different opponents. Now, a lot of this is guesswork from us because we haven't really seen how Arna wants us to set up, who he fancies in each position, and I'm sure we're going to get to know that a little bit more over the course of the next couple of weeks, and of course the friendlies we're going to get to see. So yeah, I wouldn't think about it as would he be X or Y. Think about it of Salah's leaving and we're going to need somebody to come in across the front line, whether that's Kudus, whether that's Gordon, whether that's somebody else. Of course, that's all up for debate at the minute. No chance Gordon starts over Cody, not for me. Well, that's your opinion, mate. Absolutely fine for you to have it. But one thing I would ask is, whatever we think about Gordon for the right now, I think, and I at least hope, that we'd all agree that he's come on as a player since you went to Newcastle. That the Anthony Gordon that left Everton and the Anthony Gordon that played for Newcastle last season, let's say, you can see the development there. And what I would say is, I love the idea of a player who wants to be at Liverpool. I love the idea of a player who will run through a brick wall, who that badge really means something to, who grew up supporting the club. who was released from the academy as a kid, who then maybe has a second chance to come back. I like that. That's a player that I think will work hard for the team. That's a player that'll leave it all out there. And that's a player that I'd depend on. But again, I don't know if this is realistic, unrealistic or not. Ahmed's come in saying Liverpool fans crying face emoji. Did you expect something else on a Liverpool fan channel, mate? Did you expect me to be sitting here bigging up Arsenal, Aston Villa or something? How about contribute or shut the fuck up? Does that work? That works for me, Ahmed. So if you've nothing nice to say, mate, just shut up. If you want to come in and interact with us, if you want to come in and talk about transfers, what your club's doing, what our club's doing or whatever, fine. But you don't get to come in and laugh at people, mate. Not how we do things here. What about Johan Bakayoko? So definitely a link there, Nelson. Definitely somebody who we've been linked to quite a bit. Sasha Tavolieri, I think it was, said that his future, as in the player's future, will be sorted out in August. He does want to move away from PSV Eindhoven. I think he's turned down an opportunity to go to Saudi, if my memory is correct. But I can't speak to how serious our interest is in him. I truly don't know, mate. Mike, how are you, bro? Said, can't believe it's already been a year since we've been back on YouTube. Gordon would run through brick walls for us, get the deal done. Yeah, we were looking at this last night, actually. We've done about 90,000 subscribers in that year since we've come back across the YouTube. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Sometimes, Mike, I don't like to think about the numbers because they scare me. Craig, I think Mo can be revived monster in the middle. Ben, can we ask that question actually? Can we ask people where they think Mo would be most effective this season? Because lots of us, and I would include myself in this as well, Fidor, Heather, Barron, I agree. I think Mo needs to be closer to goal. So, let's say, Ben, can we say, where would you like Mo to play this season? Right wing, number 10, or central? I think they're the most likely options. I do agree with you. One of the problems we had last year was Mo was too far away from goal. Mo was out hugging the touchline. If you look at the heat maps, compare them to other seasons, he was a little bit further wide. And of course, that means he has to work harder to get closer to goal, to get into the areas where he can do the damage. So if we can find a way to get him closer into shooting positions, I'm not against that in any way, shape or form. And it is something that we've always spoken about with other great players who've gotten to the latter stages of their careers. They've almost reinvented themselves in different positions. You know, you look at Ronaldo, wasn't a winger at the end of his career, he's an out and out striker. You look at Messi, you know, went from the number 10 to maybe dropping back into pockets of space, David Silva-esque, linking up play. Yeah, and I expect Mo could evolve in that way, absolutely. Finty said, this channel's gone from strength to strength and you deserve all the praise you get, sir. I don't deserve any of the praise, mate. I have the easy job. It's you guys that make the channel what it is. You know, people come in and they get to see you. They get to chat with you guys. They get to have fun with you guys. I have the easy job. I'm just here to just be a conduit between the news and your opinions. E-Man said, dream transfer window would be Kudus and Gordon, selling Diaz and getting a CDM. Throw in a centre-back there, my friend, and we've got a deal. I'll be right there with you. For me, dream transfer window is the one that's been spoken about, quite frankly. A defensive midfielder, a centre-back, and a forward. That's a dream window for me. Who they are, you know, we'll all differ on those opinions, won't we? You'll have somebody you'll like, I'll have somebody I'll like. Edwards and Hughes will have people they'll like. For me, Atlanta midfielder, Ederson seems like a no-brainer. I'm going to just continue to say this forever and ever and ever. He's the one for me that would solve the midfield conundrum. But, you know, I don't make the transfer decisions and we're all just waiting to see what Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes does. For me, the reason I've always been so mindful of the possibility of Ederson is I think he does tick all the... what's the word I'm looking for? The checklist for Liverpool transfers. Can he be improved? Yes. Has he got a good sample size at a high level of football games? Yes. Breaking into Brazilian national team. Talking Brazil that their future midfield could be himself, Bruno Guimaraes, Douglas Luiz. You know, they're looking along those lines. So I think he ticks all the boxes. And when it comes to price and valuation, I don't think you're going to see a number anywhere near a Declan Rice or a Moise Caicedo. Something around 40, 45 million pound probably gets you the player. A player who impressed me dramatically when we played against them. A player who impressed me watching them in the Europa League final against Leverkusen. I just think a really, really solid piece of transfer business on every level. But I can't make these transfers happen. So that's my view on that one. Ederson defo isn't the 6 though. Why are we all so obsessed? Stop playing fucking FIFA. A player is whatever the manager wants the player to be. Ederson can be a 6. Ederson can be an 8. Ederson can be whatever. Endo started his career as a centre-back. Trent started his career as a midfielder. Sadio Mane was our right winger until he wasn't, and he was our left winger. Why the fascination with pigeonholing everybody? He's a player who knows how to use the defensive side of the game. He's a player that has a great engine. And I would argue he kind of is a 6. Or very close to the type of way we'd utilise a 6 in our system. That's my take. So, you know, too many people just go off computer games and, oh, we need a CDM. No, we need a midfielder that works in slot system. That's what we need. Doesn't need to be a pigeonholed tag. It just needs to be someone that works. Somebody that has the engine, that can counter press, that can win the ball. That's all we need. Exactly. Verse was like, football's full of players who started in different positions. Kelleher was a striker when he played for Ringmahon Rangers. Now he's a goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? So don't worry about where somebody is now. Think about would they work in our system. And I think with Ederson the answer is yes. Same way Bajcetic will work. Same way McAllister will work. I just think he's a good signing. But do FSC already have the pieces for slot system? Fair question, Stefan. Fair question, mate. I would say a lot of those pieces are there, mate. Yes. But we're not complete. We're not finished. We can improve on Endo, as an example. Endo can do a good job. Did a good job. Will do a good job. But I think we can improve on that. Same with our centre-backs. Everybody's just obsessed with the idea of Kwanzaa being Virgil van Dijk's successor. I've no issue with any of that. But we still need 4 quality centre-backs. You don't go into a season just having your number 1 and 2 and that's it. You don't care after that. You need to make sure you've got that strength and depth. The best defensive team in the league's going out there and signing Calafiori. You know, they're not resting on their laurels. They're not looking at Gabriel and just thinking, oh, but we can't improve on him. You know, no point. No, they're going to bring Calafiori to make sure that if they have an injury and if somebody's out, then they've got somebody ready to come in. And I don't see enough of that being talked about with us. It's like, Kwanzaa can be the Verge replacement. Yeah. So who's the Kwanzaa replacement? You know, we need 4 or 5, probably 5 centre-backs to go through a season with the amount of games that we play, accounting for injuries and obviously the games coming thick and fast twice a week. Do we think Slot will use a 4-3-3 or a 4-2 or a 4-3-2-1? It was a 4-2-3-1. But either way, I don't know. And I think he thinks he played a 4-3-3. You know, you listen to his interviews. Poor old Chris from Redmen. And, I don't know Chris, but I felt from him in that moment because it was a very fair question. And I felt like he kind of got a bit of a sharp-tongued response. And ultimately, we don't need to obsess about the formations because they're fluid. And during a game, these things change a lot. Some of them we notice, some of them we don't notice. But either way, Slot thinks of himself as being a manager that utilises some version of a 4-3-3 system. So, let's move on So let's see this. Actually, let's keep an eye on the Salah situation. Right wing number 10 central. So far, 42% are saying right wing, 37% central, 21% and some variation of a number 10. Here's something I'm going to say. Whatever position Mohamed Salah plays this season, he needs competition. And that's what we haven't had for him and Virgil. So that needs to happen, regardless of whether Mo plays right wing, 10, striker. He needs somebody to be breathing down his neck. He needs to know if he has a stumble that he's not an automatic player straight away, whatever he does. Last season, whilst I understood Jurgen not giving him the same defensive duties that he once had, it was to the detriment of the team. And there was no way that if his name wasn't Mohamed Salah and he didn't have the record that he had, that he'd been getting away with that. He would have been subbed off. But because it's Mo and we know what Mo's capable of, Jurgen was able to, I don't want to say make excuses for him, but let's just say limit what he had to do. David Massett, how are you, my friend? Thank you for your super chat. Said, I'm glad we haven't bought anybody off the back of the Euros. We need the right players at LFC. Yeah, it's definitely always very worrying when you see reactive signings from somebody having a good tournament. Usually, I would imagine if you're a sporting director and you have eyes on somebody going into a tournament like the Euros, you'd want them to stink the gaff up. You know, the last thing you want as a potential buying club is somebody that you're looking at going out there and being a shining light for their country, because the price in the competition is just going up there automatically. So I agree, and I don't think we will sign anybody off the back of one good tournament. Alfredo made a good point, said players' roles change when they get older. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. But what the problem I thought we had last season, Alfredo, mate, with Mo is, so if Mo's not tracking back because of the injury and fatigue, and Trent's vacating the space when he's moving from right back into central midfield, that's a whole big area that your right-sided midfielder and your right-sided centre-back have to cover. It's a lot of extra work, which is going to leave holes elsewhere. So that was the problem we had. In years gone by, a lot of that type of work was done by a Jordan Henderson or a Gini Wijnaldum. You know, they were the workhorses. They were the ones that slipped in there effortlessly to plug the holes and the gaps vacated by players going forward. So that's what we need as well. We need those holes to be plugged, because we all love when a fullback gets forward. We all love it. We all love seeing Mo running at players, and we know Mo works hard. Like, I've never, ever, and never would question how hard he worked. But last year, things just caught up with him. The injury, fatigue, and, you know, he wasn't able to do the defensive side of his game that he has always been able to do. And Jurgen had to find solutions, and I think we were found out then at the end of the season. I think it cost us. Juff, that was a long time ago, to be fair. Different owners, different strategy. Big fuck-ups, though. Yeah, Salif Jow and El Hadj Juff, big problems. You're right, from that World Cup. Yeah, they were mistakes. Philip Jameson said, Craig Gravenberch as a 6 potential. My own opinion is absolutely. I remember a really good, I think it was Rafael van der Vaart, said something about Ryan Gravenberch and kind of equated him to De Jong, the player who obviously was a Dutch international as well. And he said that De Jong was so good, could do so many things. I'm not talking about Frankie De Jong, by the way. I'm talking about Nigel De Jong. Said that he was so good at midfield, but he wasn't a specialist at anything. And then he decided that he was going to become that defensive specialist. And I think something will have to happen with Gravenberch where he will have to become something. If that's a 6, I think he could do it. If it's an 8, absolutely he could do it. He's so talented, his attributes would lead into either. But we do need a few specialist players in the team. And we've got a lot of utility men, a lot of forwards that can play in a wide range of positions. But yes, sometimes having that Fabinho, that Rodri, that Declan Rice could be a difference maker, you know. 7DVZE, thank you for your super chat. Said, love the streams, Craig. Any news on Robbo? Yes, so he's still injured, is the news really. Nothing new that happened in pre-season or anything, of course. Arne Slot said it was still him recovering from the injury he picked up at the Euros. Nothing too serious by the sounds of it, but enough that he hasn't been able to get back to speed yet or get back training yet. So that's the only thing I've really seen. I don't know what this super chat's about. I'll read it out, but I really don't understand the context of it. Jamie Phillips wouldn't even let me a voice on a phone in. I don't know what that means, Alexander, mate. Maybe I've missed something there, but thank you for your super chat. I just don't know the context of that comment. Tamerlan said, honestly, if FSG wasn't cheap, we'd go for a signing like Isak. Do you know what? It's kind of mad, mate, that you mentioned Isak. Myself and Ben were chatting before we went live, and we were saying that we're both scared shitless that if Arsenal, he's a United fan, obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan, that if Arsenal went out there and got Isak, genuine question of would they be the favourites for the title? And I would say yes. I'd say yes for this reason. One, they're a good squad already. Every year they've shown that progression. They've gone out and signed Rice. They've gone out and brought in Calafiori. If they added that striker of a quality of Alexander Isak, I would say, taking into account the situation at Manchester City, I would say at that point they'd be favourites to win the league. I don't know if I speak for everybody here, but for me, Manchester City, this is a year you can get at them. This is a year that they are not going to be the same animal. De Bruyne is at the very tail end of his peak, probably past it. Still going to have moments, but I don't think he's going to be available enough. Julian Alvarez wants out for whatever reason. Haaland's, is everything really sweet and lightness there behind the scenes? This could be Guardiola's last year. Then there's the stuff about the charges hanging over their heads. I think there's a chance this season for somebody to come in and take that title off them. I want us to be there challenging, but a signing like Isak for Arsenal, it would concern me, because I struggle to spot holes then in the rest of their squad. I struggle to spot real weaknesses. Naughty Bad, thank you for your super chat, my friend. Said, I hope we use Gravenberch more this season. Followed his career before Liverpool. He shined in moments last season. Frustrated Klopp didn't use him much. So I've got to put my hands up in the air here, mate, and say that when we signed him, I was very unsure and very anxious about it. I questioned why he would have gone through Ajax, then it didn't work out at Bayern. But very quickly when he came in, those fears were allayed for me. I think I agree with what you've said. Would have liked to have seen more of him last season. Definitely has an eye for goal as well. Loves to get into the penalty area. And I think I was astounded that at the start of this window there was some talk from people about him being sold or moving on. I never understood it. For me, I'm excited to see what he'll do under Arne Slot, and I think, like yourself, there's much more to come. Sorry, I'm playing catch up here on the super chats. My apologies. Tamirian, thank you for your super sticker, mate. You really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. That's your first one on a live stream as well, so let's celebrate your first one, mate. Thank you. That's really kind of you. Appreciate your support. Did you see ESPN's top 25 players of the century? I didn't, but I will have a look at it later on. I'm fascinated. Those type of things fascinate me, so yeah, I'll definitely have a look at it. Sorry, there's a couple of things I just need to fill you in on. I'm trying to play catch up here in my mind. So, today, you've probably seen the David Lynch video, but it's also out on podcast. So, if you haven't already downloaded the Anfield Agenda podcast, please do. You can find it on all of your podcast platforms. Whatever it is you listen to a podcast on, search us on there and we should show up. Of course, all the podcasts are free, as they'll always be. And I'm really excited to get back into podcasting. So we'll have 2 new episodes coming out every week. Some of them will be me and Jack Gill. Some of them will be me and my own. Some of them will be me in interviews. I've reached out to somebody else today who would like to get on for a chat as well. So let me know what you think about it, and we appreciate your support on it. It's exciting times. David said TNT Sport tried to paint Bordeaux's relegation was our fault, and FSG caused it. Hate when they use our name for clicks. Sick of their anti-LFC agenda. Yeah, look, what's happening with Bordeaux is really sad. It is, you know, to see a football club, I think that was established in the 1790s, go to the wall like it is. Releasing all the players from their contracts and stuff. It's difficult. And look, I think FSG went in there with honest intentions of trying to see if it was worth saving it. They obviously crunched the numbers. I don't understand the financial side of their implications there at Bordeaux, but it's always incredibly sad when a football club goes to the wall or goes into administration. And Bordeaux is one of the most historic clubs, so definitely just really sad. I haven't seen what TNT Sport have or haven't said, to be honest with you, so can't really comment on that too much. But if I had one word for them, or one sentence for them, it would be fuck off with the half 12 kickoff, lads. First game of the season, we're already into the half 12s. Right, Gleison Bramer, I want to talk about him for a minute. An article that came out of, I think, Italy, said Liverpool have been told they need to offer £50 million in order to sign the Juventus defender. It's been stated. United are another club to have been linked with the Brazilian centre-back who has 4 years left on his contract. So, my concern here would be, we don't know Juventus are in the market for centre-backs. We know Juventus have moved on Hoyce and looking for Jean-Claire Todibo. If this guy's so good, why are they selling? Or why are they willing to sell? I'm confused by it. I don't watch much Serie A, so I don't know all that much about this guy. I think he was at Torino previously. We were certainly linked with him going back a while, but I don't expect him to be the signing for us anyway. Love to know your thoughts on it though. 50 million quid, good enough, not good enough? Robert said, I'm scared of Ipswich. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy start to the season with them. You know, newly promoted team, at home, early kickoff. We're going to have to be at it from minute one. So yes, it's not going to be a comfortable watch. I don't expect us to go out there and swipe them aside 3 or 4-0. I think it's going to be a difficult game. Stephen Rosca said Inacio for centre-back is the one. So you may have heard when I spoke with David Lynch, Diamonde was a name that was more thought of from Liverpool's perspective because of his aerial prowess. Inacio, I'm not really getting much positivity on the idea of it from anyone I speak to, or much, you know, positive vibes that it's likely him. I was encouraged to hear that if we did go back in, we'd be looking for him at about 40 million, which was a lot better than the 60 million euro that is his new release clause. So look, I'm fine if it's Inacio. I'm fine with whoever the club want to go with. I just want the fucking dude in. I just want them playing. I want them available for the manager. And I want us to know what we're looking at. Uncertainty is nobody's friend. And at the moment, every day that goes by is another day that we're... another day these guys won't have in the training pitch with the new coach. Mark sent me on that ESPN list. I will look at that when I get a chance, Mark, later. Thank you very much. Messi's number 1 in it though, so that's already fine with me. So speaking about transfers, Arne Slot said, the first aim is to work with these players. The disadvantage is that many of them aren't here yet. The positive is that gives us time to take a good look at the youngsters. There's an important line at the club that young players come through. Our standards are really high when it comes to bringing in new players. Of course, Richard Hughes and I are trying to improve the squad where possible. Cool. Just, you know, a little bit quicker, lads, would be great. It scares the shit out of me that we're the last team in the Premier League to make a move in the market. Like, really does worry me that we're going to be left with too much to do and something is going to be left undone. Like, I've no qualms about saying, yes, we'll make signings, but will we get everything done? Will we get all the goals that were spoken about for this window achieved in a month where, let's be honest, as the clock keeps ticking, the price probably goes up. Clubs get desperate. Selling clubs get more bold because the closer it comes to the end of a window, if you're going to come in and take one of the best players out of a club, which they probably would be if they're coming to Liverpool, well, that club's going to want time to replace said player as well. So it isn't all champagne and skittles when you come to talking about all the business being done in August. You know, there's a lot of downsides and possibilities of frustration in that as well. So that's why I'm saying every day counts now. We can't just keep writing off a week and another week and another week. Before we know it, we're going to be in squeaky bum time. Will you be doing a Liverpool versus Real Betis preview? No. There's 0 point in doing a preview for a game that will probably have 2 to 3 different teams throughout the game. You know, you'll see a lot of half hours done, so you'll see changes at half hour mark, the hour mark, 90. It's too difficult to do, so no, I won't be doing it. Also, I won't be doing the Arsenal game next week. I'm going to the UK for the live shows that morning, leaving my house at 5:30. So if I did the Arsenal game, I would be finished about 2:45 and I wouldn't get any sleep. And I want to make sure I'm fresh and good for the live show. So we will be on tomorrow night for a watch along of the Betis game, but I'll miss the Arsenal United games, and then I'll be back for a watch along of the Sevilla game before the season starts. But I'm gonna have to make that tough call that I can't do the Arsenal game because I need to make sure that driving from one end of Wales to the other, I need to be awake and fresh and safe. What else we got? Honest Lot has also confirmed that Diogo Jota will join up at Liverpool's touring party today. Ibrahima Konate and Gravenberch should arrive later on in the trip, and everybody else is expected to return to the AXA training centre. So the only new additions we'll get to this trip will be Diogo Jota, Gravenberch and Ibu. The rest of the lads, when they come back, it'll be at the AXA training centre. Long, boring drive through Wales, said Liam Griffiths. I don't know, mate. I've never done it before, so, you know, it is what it is. You know, it's a drive that I have to make. I have to go from Holyhead down to Cardiff, so, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm safe. I don't want to be tired and fatigued driving with Sabrina and my son in the car. Would you take one big centre-back signing and promote the rest from the academy? It seems more unlikely that we're making 3 signings. 2 even. 2 I'd take. Jean Gerwel. Is it Jean or Jean? I don't know if I'm speaking to somebody from France who's Jean or Jean. But either way, 2 I would take. You know, I want 3. But centre-back and DM are just, to me, they're not even debatable. It's a failure of a window if both those positions aren't addressed. The forward line, I think I've always been understanding of that. It's a fluid situation. We don't know if we'll get a late bid for somebody like Lucho as an example. But in an ideal world, I'd like Mohamed Salah's successor to be there this season to give us a season with both of them. Where will I arrive at Wales? So we're getting the boat from Dublin to Holyhead. We're driving our car onto the boat. So we're going Dublin, Holyhead. Then I'm going to drive from Holyhead down to Cardiff. We're staying in a hotel in Cardiff for 2 nights. Obviously, we're doing the live show in Cardiff. Then I'm driving from Cardiff to Liverpool. We've rented a house at Liverpool for 2 days. We're going to stay there, do the live show in Liverpool, and then back home the next morning on the ferry again from Holyhead. So, looking forward to it. I can't believe it's only a week away now. 1 week and 1 day we're in Cardiff. 1 week and 1 day. It's flown up on us, honestly. Can't believe it. So, if you haven't already got your tickets, there's still a chance to do so with the link at the top of the chat or in the description of this video. My dog's barking in the kitchen because he hears the cat outside. Will Darwin be banned? Don't know, Marshall. True answer, mate. Don't know. Hope not. But still don't know what's going on with that situation. Going through my notes here just to check in on a few bits and pieces. So there was some talk of a potential double Pedro Neto raid, or double Wolves raid for Pedro Neto and Aït-Nouri. I don't know how much faith I'd put in this, but one outlet are reporting that both of them are wanted by Liverpool. Sorry, that my dog is absolutely doing his nut in the kitchen there. He's totally distracting me because he's a cat. When my dog sees a cat, he wants to just go through the wall to get to the cat. So, yeah, he seems to have calmed down a bit there now. Sorry, he's a bit distracted. I don't know if I believe in this. I'd like Aït-Nouri, 38 million quid. Not really sure about the situation with Neto, but not seeing a price either, sorry. 1 second, folks. Bear with me, sorry. Do we not need 2 CDMs for first team / backup? Asking the wife to put the dog down? Go fuck yourself, you scummy little cunt. How about that? What type of an asshole says something like that? I love my dog dearly. He's like my best mate. So no, mate, there's no talk of putting him down, you little asshole. I don't like hearing him sad. Do we not need 2 CDMs for first team backup? I think we have one. You know, whether you look at it as Endo by Cecic, I think we need one more. We need somebody who's an undoubted talent that will come in and put the fear of God into opposition teams, like a Rodri, like Rice. Caicedo would have been that guy, but it is what it is. Sorry, I'm going to have to let this dog out. Bear with me 1 second. Apologies, he's now outside and happy. He just wanted to get outside and he wasn't a happy bunny, but he's much happier now. He's out in the back garden. Didn't even see a cat, to be honest with you. Why would somebody even say that about a dog? Because they're a scummy little fuck. That's why, mate. Yes, our dog is family. Our dog's like a child to us, so to be... Yeah, I love my doggy. Right, anyway, back to news. So on the Aït-Nouri Pedro Neto thing, I don't know how I feel about the Neto link. Aït-Nouri I want. I think it'd be a great signing, but unsure on paying the money for Neto because of his injury record. Mark Bell, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my friend. Appreciate your support. Lynn said it's normal for dogs to bark, they're just talking. Absolutely. Oh look, my dog is he's like me. He's very talkative. He's not shy about letting you know his feelings, whether he's happy, sad, excited, doesn't matter. He's still family and his needs are there, and I need to make sure that he's safe and well. So that's why I had to go and check on him. I like Neto, but he's made of glass, said Daz. I like him as well, mate, but it really does worry me, those injury record that he has. Right, Ben, we have a poll idea from Mark, who's crediting Ash. What they want to ask is, let me end this poll. So we said, where would you like to see Mo play this season? 49% say right wing, 32% say central, 19% say number 10. This is not my poll idea, but it's been put to me, so I want to put it into the chat. If you could, Ben, the question on the poll is, was the Caicedo £150 million bid a PR stunt? That's the question that Mark and Ash would like us to ask into the chat. So if you could get that poll done, mate, that would be much appreciated. What type of dog? A French bulldog called Harvey, and yes, he was named after Harvey Elliott. Yeah, a little fawn French bulldog. He's going to be two. He's 2 next week, actually. Well, time flies by. I still think of him as a little puppy. Right, there we go. Was the Caicedo £150 million bid last summer just a PR stunt? Yes or no? Let's see what you guys think, and we will return back to this poll in a while. Morris said he's convinced it was a PR stunt. My own view on it, if you'd like to know it, is that no, I don't think it was a PR stunt, but it looked really, really bad. You know, to get to the point where I'll give you a bit of background on that story if I can, from what I know of it. So it was always thought Caicedo was going to Chelsea. He'd given his word to Chelsea, but Brighton, the selling club, they'd said that they obviously wanted the highest figure they could get for the player. So the decision was made to go to a sealed bidding process, and the time, I think it was 11 or 12, midnight, whatever, was the time for highest bids, sealed bids. And Liverpool, from what I gather, the calculations Liverpool made were ones that they knew Chelsea could not pay without having FFP issues. So they believed bidding 115 million was a number Chelsea couldn't get to. So Liverpool made the bid. Liverpool's bid was the highest bid. Liverpool won that closed process. What should have then happened is that Brighton stuck to their word. And Brighton said, it's stay with us or go to Liverpool. That was the process. They caved. He caved. Todd Bowley's PR machine got into the player's ear, and he made the decision to go to Chelsea. And I think he made the wrong decision. So it was a shit show. The club looked really bad, but I don't think it was a PR stunt. And I say that as somebody who doesn't give these owners much credit in transfers. Love your content, Craig. Hope to see this channel with the big dogs one day. Thank you, mate. Well, look, we're the most watched Liverpool fan channel on the planet. So I think I want us up there as well. Don't get me wrong. I want us up there I want that 1 million goal plaque. But I never thought we'd be here, mate. I never thought a channel with two lads from Ireland started that has never had any access or opportunities or publicity. It's been built from the ground up because of your support, and it's a slow process, but it's been an enjoyable one, and it's been one that I think, if I'm being really honest with you, I wouldn't have been ready for this 5 years ago as a person, but now I feel like I'm ready to keep the channel pushing on. Like I said to you guys yesterday, I turned down a job where my salary would have been somewhere between 80 and 120,000 euro a year, because I want to chase my dreams of turning this into whatever the biggest version of it can be, and I'm not ready to give up on that yet. So yeah, I hope we become a big dog as well, mate, someday. But we need a few lucky breaks along the way. We need some. For example, here's an example: the FCAs, the Football Content Awards. I think it's around this time of the year. We've never even been nominated in a single category, despite being head and shoulders the most popular Liverpool fan channel on the planet. Make that make sense. I know the answer to it, You need to look at who runs the award. But that's why. It's never been a level playing field. We've never not been pushed down, shall we say. Doors closed intentionally on us. And I'm not talking about the club here. I'm talking about Liverpool Football Club. But these things only add fire and fuel to the flames for me. Because I'm the type of person that's saying, if you tell me no, I'm saying fuck you. I decide yes or no. So try and keep the channel down. Try and keep us down. Best of luck to you, because numbers don't lie. You can try to silence us. You can manipulate us. You can try to keep us out of the show. Try and keep us off the big stage. But we're a-coming. The community's growing. People are behind us. And we're doing it our way. We're not withholding to anyone. We're not answerable to anyone. We haven't fucked anybody over on the way. And I love it. And I love you for it. Have we actually signed anyone because we need a right back? Well, you know the answer to that question, my friend. Unfortunately, no. As of yet, bro, we haven't. We haven't signed anyone yet. But look, I want it done. Same as you, mate. I want it done quickly. Gary said, Craig, I work full-time night shifts, so just wanted to know, do you do live shows at this time all the time? Almost every night, mate, at 8:45. We do 8:45 to about 10:15, 10:30. And we'll be doing, tomorrow night we'll be really late. We'll be live again after the night show for the watch along from about quarter to midnight. But yeah, always at this time, mate. Klopp sipping Arsenal tears said, Craig, we're going to challenge for the title. I'm the only one I've seen saying this. Remember it. Look, mate, I've every faith in the coach. I just feel like to really ram home that we're going to be there for this title, we need to make a couple of signings. You know, we can't just expect Arne Slot to work miracles here. He needs to be bolstered by a couple of quality additions. But I tell you what, this summer will tell us about the ambition of our owners. This summer will show us if they really want to win. Because like I said, it's not going unnoticed by Arsenal that Manchester City's position is somewhat weakening, and certainly they look far more fractured than they have in recent years, where they've been on this 4-year in a row winning streak in the Prem. I think the title's there to be won this year, and Arsenal are putting their best foot forward. I hope we do the same. You know, I want to be involved in the title race again, but I don't want to fade away at the end of it like we did this year. This year was so tough, wasn't it? To go and get beaten at Goodison, you know, to then fall away and get beaten in the quarter-final of the Champions League at home, or excuse me, the Europa League at home, particularly as bad as we did against Atalanta. It was not a great end to the season. It kind of sucked a lot of the goodness out of what, up to that point, had been a season where I would argue we overachieved on some fronts. And I don't want that to happen again. Oh, I don't want. I'm fed up of being this close, you know. There's only so many times missing out on a league title by getting 90 points or above. You can stomach that. Yeah, it's tough. Mark Ames said, this is Craig doing what you do now. You're your own boss, accepting the 80 to 100,000 euro, whatever, only makes you work for someone else. Exactly. But the biggest decision, the biggest reason that I said no to the possibility of it was this. I just don't feel I'm done here yet. I've got 3 to 5 years left in me at this, and no Liverpool channel's got to 1 million subscribers yet, and I want to be the one to do it. I want us as a community to be the first Liverpool channel to get 1 million subscribers. So, you know, let's see what we do. Let's shoot for the stars. But ultimately, I get to do this for a living, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So yeah, look, more money elsewhere. It's never really been about the money for me, to be honest with you. I just love what I do. Shay said, I was so happy when I thought we were signing Caicedo. The DM position would have been locked down. You only have to go back, mate, and see what my reaction video was when we'd won that sealed bid. I was fully on to the, polish up 4 trophy spaces. We're winning it all. It was, that was it. No doubt in my mind, Shay, when I thought we'd signed him, that was it. It was done. The rest of the clubs might as well have just fecked off elsewhere. We were winning it. And that's a feeling I want again. Remember what that felt like in that moment, how positive, excited, optimistic we all were. You mightn't have been as far-fetched as me thinking that's it, we're winning everything, but you were definitely feeling like we're here, we're serious. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? And I want us to feel that again. Did you see that Barca have made a bid for Dani Olmo? Maybe this is our chance to get Nico Williams. So I've kind of seen the Olmo situation. I think they've made a bid in and around 50, but it isn't all at once. I think it is some staggered thing that Leipzig are saying no to at the moment. Maybe that's changed over the last few hours, by the way. But with Nico Williams, from speaking to people and from speaking to people on the Spanish side, it feels like it's Barca or stay at Athletic Club. I don't think he moves outside Spain. It feels like that's the vibe at the minute. He either stays at Athletic Club Bilbao for another year or he gets the move to Barca. Craig, you're an honest man, loyal man, committed person. You 100% deserve the goal play button. Look, I don't know if we'll get there. I don't. But let's give it a go. I didn't think we'd get a silver play button, but we did. I didn't think the podcast would launch as well as it did, but it has. I keep underestimating you guys. I keep underestimating how much you have our back. And I shouldn't do that. So who knows? Who the fuck knows what the future holds? But I tell you what, I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the journey, and I'm enjoying chatting with you guys on a daily basis. Honestly, I love being able to. Today I spent my afternoon speaking with a Liverpool fan in Japan. How amazing is that? I get to speak to a fellow Red who's living in Japan. This football club connects us in beautiful ways. And if there's one thing I'd like to get across tonight, whatever our opinions are, I know that sometimes I'm a little bit reactive, to say the least. I'm a little bit excitable. I'm a little bit angry. But in life, at the moment, the world feels like it's in a place where only the very end of any spectrum is getting highlighted. So if you're a politician, if you're religious, if you're sport, whatever it is, those who are the mouthiest on both ends are the ones who are receiving all the attention, but most of us sensible, rational human beings live in the middle. So whether you're somebody that thinks FSG are brilliant or you're somebody that hates FSG, this mentality of our first response to our fellow fans being to belittle them in a reply or to say, you don't know where Anfield is, you've no right to have an opinion. Another one of these, you say one thing they disagree with and all of a sudden they've pigeonholed you into the problem. You're the fan base's problem, or that's not the case. We need to stop being assholes like that. We need to understand that most of us can agree on a lot of things. And if we talk, we'll probably find we've got a lot more in common. We'll probably find that we might not agree on politics or religion or football, but we'll have millions of things that will bring us together and make us better human beings and show us more empathy. And I just get wound up in this day and age, mates, when everything, like even comments on a video. Why the fuck did you bring David Lynch on if there's no news? Well, because I like hearing David's opinions and I like getting David's viewpoint and I like challenging my own perceptions and thoughts. People are just so quick to want to belittle everybody. Craig, would Gay, Aït-Nouri and Kubo be a good window to you? It would, but unfortunately from speaking with David yesterday, I don't really hold too much hope out for Mark Gay. And in all honesty, I appreciated the reasoning that David explained why he didn't believe we were going strong for Mark Gay. And hands on heart, it's one I didn't really get a chance to speak about because I never thought of the aerial prowess. I never thought of that side of it. I just thought of a left centre back who can play balls, who can defend. So I got a new perspective from speaking to David on it. So no, I don't think Mark Gay is going to be that guy. Kubo, I don't know if there's ever really been the serious interest there. Every journalist that I've seen has written to say no, so I don't think that's happening. Yeah, I wish I had better news, but no, unfortunately. Thoughts on Ederson this window? I think there's hope on Ederson. You know, nobody's told me a definitive no. Now, nobody's gone the other way either and said it's very, very likely. But there's an acknowledgement that he is somebody who fits, somebody who could be utilised in the system, somebody who there would be rationale behind the club's interest in. Other than that, I don't know. Look, I made a conscious decision about 18 months ago not to go down the ITK route. I got my fingers burnt on the Bellingham situation, and I made a conscious decision at that point not to go down the I know this, I know that stuff anymore. I'm just reporting on what other people say, and I'm just giving an opinion now, because I hate people feeling like they've been deceived. So, yeah. That Bellingham thing drove me demented, by the way. Can't understand why Murillo from Forest isn't getting a move. He's certainly been mentioned, Alex. He himself has said that Liverpool, United, Arsenal, Man City, I think he said they're all clubs that of course he'd be up for. He's certainly a name that has been mentioned in the circles of us about a centre-back. Yeah, so some people are trying to say Costas is at Real Betis. It's just Adrian gifted him a Real Betis jersey with his name on it. There's no truth to Costas going to Real Betis here. That was just a gift from Adrian, who has signed for Betis, of course. And thank you, Mark, for sending that across. Right, what was this one? Curtis Jones was speaking on how the pressing will change under Arne Slot, and it was quite interesting to hear. He said, I feel in the past it was kind of like a rush. We'd get the ball back and it was a little bit too direct. I would say it was up and down, up and down. Now, under Arne Slot, he wants us to have all of the ball and completely kill teams. That is one thing I expect to see a big difference in tomorrow when we play. We're a lot more direct under Jurgen. And yes, the counter pressing was there. And yes, we had to try and win the ball back quickly. But Arne Slot wants that counter pressing. But he also wants us to kill teams with possession. So I'm expecting more of a Manchester City look to our build-up play with the counter-pressing that we've all kind of grown up, become accustomed to under Jurgen's era. Bobby Clark regular this season. I think he'll be in the first team squads. News today said that he was going to be staying at the club this year, so no loan. And I think he's right on the edge. Very, very good footballer, Bobby Clark, and I've never felt concerned when he's come onto the pitch. Every time he's come on, I think he's done a good job, and you can see that he is a good player. So yeah, I think whether he nails down a starting place yet or not, I'm not sure, but I certainly expect him to be utilised more this year and given more opportunities, which is exciting. You know, Bajcetic is there as well. Ben Doak will be another exciting opportunity. You know, he didn't really seize the opportunity last season in the Europa League and then had some injuries. If these guys can come through as well, then maybe we don't have that drop off and change of personnel. Would you expect Trent in midfield this season, said Lee. Hand on heart, Lee, I have no idea what to expect with Trent yet. That's what I've said when we were talking about maybe losing Trent. I kept saying to people, I don't know about a replacement because I don't know what we're replacing. Would we be replacing a fullback? Would we be replacing a midfielder? And I don't know with regards to his future now either. I know I think he's staying, and that looks more and more positive as the days go by, but I've no idea where he's going to play. Gut instinct, I think we see him stay in the right back role, because I think Slot has used inverted fullbacks previously, so probably a similar situation there. But if that's the case, we need to make sure there's cover from the right side of midfield on attack when Trent does get forward, because we can't have that space glaringly attacked like it was at some points last season. So let's go back and check the poll. Wow. Oh my goodness. I did not expect this result. Leave it running until the end of the stream, but the question was the Caicedo £150 million bid last summer a PR stunt? And 2/3 are saying yes, it was a PR stunt. Again, we'd love your thoughts on that, so if you haven't voted, please do. Wow. That surprised me. Non-football related, so excuse me for a sec. A story in the Times caught my eye, because this to me sums up where we're at in the world in sport at the minute and how worrying it is. Olympic chiefs have threatened to pull the plug on the United States hosting future Olympic Games unless the FBI ends its investigation into alleged cover-up of doping by Chinese swimmers. That is concerning. That is one of the big problems in sport at the minute. It's this geopolitical influence on things. I don't know why on earth those Olympic chiefs think that they have the right or the balls to threaten the American government and the FBI over an investigation into something that they want closed off. That's worrying to me. You know, if the FBI have an investigation of doping allegations, I'm sure they're not doing it for no reason. I'm sure that they're investigating that because they feel like it's either been swept under the rug or that there's something that hasn't come to fruition yet. And remember who it was that raided UEFA's offices or FIFA's offices previously. It was the FBI in America that came in there for that money laundering charges. Somebody has to hold these fuckers to account. So I'm glad that these things are happening. I'm glad that the American government or any government is kind of taking these people head on, because corruption, cover up, it's bullshit in sport. It's happening too often. Too much geopolitical pressure to let shit slide. Here's an example, and I'm going to say this really strongly. Enzo Fernandez went and publicly sang a song that included racist lyrics that are undoubtable, undeniable, unquestionable, and in no way could he say he didn't understand that there was racial undertones in the song he was singing. Now, my problem with it is this, the response to it. Every single one of us has been morally lectured by Sky, by TNT, and by every other outlet to kick hate out of the game, to no room for racism, to say something, to see something, speaking about equality, sexual orientation, religion, kicking down all those boundaries, and making football the inclusive sport we all want it to be. If you sang the song that Enzo Fernandez sang in a stadium, likelihood is you'll be banned, and rightly so. Where's the furore and the fuss now? Where's the investigation demanding answers to him? And I'm not having a dig at Chelsea here, but it's this double standards that does my head in. We've all seen content creators who've made mistakes and spoken words and things they shouldn't have done and have been held to account to them. We've all seen people in stadiums who've said chants and done things that's deplorable and have been held to account. Why is it this time that those same publications that think they can preach to the rest of us and hold us to a standard they're not willing to hold others to, the hypocrisy of these fuckers does my head in. I've no problem being told that there's no room for racism in sport because it's the right stance. I've no problem hearing that equality in sport is what we should be striving for because it's right, we should. But I do have a problem when you hold one person to account in one way and the guy who's making tens of millions isn't held to the same account. That's hypocrisy. That's bullshit. If you want it removed from sport, then start at the very top. Stop trying to pick on the little people who, yes, are guilty, but they're held to account. And Enzo Fernandez is what? Where's his judgment? Where's the fucking condemnation from Sky and BT and all these other hypocrites for something that's an open and shut case? It does my head in. I hate being preached to and lectured to when I know that the people that are doing the lecturing and preaching aren't fit to fucking talk down to the rest of us. And his manager said Enzo Fernandez had no bad intentions. Yeah, that's just not believable. I'm sorry. Again, this isn't an anti-Chelsea or an Argentinian. This is just, in my opinion, a massive, massive hypocritical situation that I don't see the condemnation. You know, why write all these articles? Why speak about inclusiveness and bringing more Asian footballers and referees in? Brilliant. We all welcome all of that because it's the right thing to do. But you can't just stomp on the little guy, and when you have a chance to make an example, like UEFA and FIFA, Liverpool players, again, under 18s, walked off a pitch twice because their players were called racial slurs. We've seen it in Europe. We've seen chanting in stadiums. We've seen partial closures. We've seen everything but the actual, real, hard work of holding people to account. So don't preach to the rest of us if you haven't got the balls to stand up when it's a little bit difficult and make some difficult calls. I don't give a fuck how much Enzo Fernandez cost, how much he makes Chelsea, how valuable he is to Argentina. The sport's more important. The integrity of the game's more important. Do you think there'll ever be the Fergie's Babes title winning team repeat again? Liverpool's youngsters will be the team to repeat in the future, or has football landscape changed? I think it's always possible. Like with Barcelona, you've seen a group come through from La Masia who, you know, the core of that great Barca team under Pep came through their ranks and dominated. You know, with Manchester United in the class of 92, yeah, you know, famous Alan Hansen line, if you will, nothing with kids, United proved otherwise. And I think it's coming to a point now where youth is getting more of a chance in football. Because these kids now, they're far more mature than I was when I was their age, certainly. But I look at it this way. Last season, our kids were asked to step up and they won us the League Cup. And when the likes of Trent and Mo and Ali were injured, the young players came in and we kept winning. We didn't miss a beat. We kept winning. We actually dropped the points when the senior players came back. So yeah, the kids are all right. And there's a lot to like about the work that we've done in the academy and the signings of a trainee only and all these great young players coming through. I don't know if we'll ever get that quite that same dominance that you got from that class of 92, but I hope so, because it's so good to see it happen when kids come through like that. And another thing that I always talk about with the younger players is they've no fear. You know, they don't give a fuck if you're an established 28-year-old defender. If you're a young pacey winger, you're turning them inside out and running at them. I love that fearlessness of some of the younger players. What's your realistic dream window for Liverpool? And thank you, Ben, by the way, in the background. Thank you, mate. My dream realistic window. Ederson. I'm stumped at centre-back now because I had said Gay all the way through the window, but it doesn't look like we've an interest there. So, who would I look at centre-back then? One of the two Sporting boys, Diamonde or Inacio. I'd probably be happy with one of those two. Murillo's an interesting one, but I would honestly say I don't know enough about him. I wouldn't have watched enough of Forest to say whether he's good enough or not. And up top, I want Nico Williams. I take Anthony Gordon. Zubamendi, I wouldn't be against either, although I wouldn't be fully convinced that he's the huge step up. Kvaratskhelia, maybe. I don't really know what's realistic, is the honest answer here. But I can say to you, Ederson in midfield I'm unshakable on that one. Yeah. I trust the recruitment team. I just, as I've said all the way through, don't trust the owners. Tchouaméni, I'd love Tchouaméni. I think David as well said Liverpool were really, really in on Tchouaméni. Like, love him. And even if he ever comes available in the future, I certainly feel like we'd go back to the table there. But we got to be honest in that situation as well and say he just wanted Madrid. He wanted Madrid, and that's understandable. And he got his move. And fair to say it's worked out for him. So let's finish up with a conversation around Mohamed Kudus, if we can. So Mark has just sent me on something that Anfield Sector posted, quoting John Barnes, saying that Kudus would be a great replacement for Mohamed Salah. If we couple that with the reports that Mohamed Kudus was somebody Liverpool were looking at, I want to know, and I'm not going to leave this as a poll because we don't have time, but would you think £85 million upwards for Mo Kudus is good business? Because the player I've no problem with. I think he's a very good player. I remember us being linked when he was at Ajax. And obviously West Ham took the plunge, and he's been very, very, very good for them. But £85 million, I don't know if he's an £85 million player. If I'm spending that much money, I'm bringing in Jared Bowen. I know he's older. I know he'd only have a limited time, but Jared Bowen would give us 4 years without missing a beat and would be amazing. He's the exact replacement in my head, but it's not feasible. I like Kudus the player. I really do. I just don't see 85 million as being realistic. I don't think he's an 85 million pound player. I feel sorry for Nat Phillips after the season. Him and Williams got us into top 4, said David Massett. I've always felt really sorry for Nat Phillips because he deserves to just put down roots and play. And I hope he gets a move this summer, and I hope he gets to settle in, because he'll be a defender that fans will enjoy watching. I don't think he's at the level for us longer term, but he's an honest pro. He leaves it all out there, wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a warrior, and I think many Liverpool fans like myself have fond thoughts of him. And I hope he moves on as well, because he deserves to play. LFC Foxy said can't see it on Bowen. Bowen is look, it's not going to happen, let me say that. Jared Bowen's exceptional. Jared Bowen, if we lost Mohamed Salah, we wouldn't skip a beat. We wouldn't. I'll die on this hill. But it's not going to happen for various reasons. The long contract he has been one of them, so it's just not feasible. But I don't think Kudus is worth £85 million. Now, if we got Kudus for 60, I think okay. But then again, sometimes I find myself asking myself, why should I care how much we pay for him? You know, the question should be, will he improve the team? The answer to that would be yes. But of course, with a price tag comes expectation and pressure as well. So I'd like Liverpool, if they chose to go after Kudus, and there's been a good bit of chatter about this online over the last day or two. Yeah, I just don't know. It'd have to be for a better number for me. I don't understand the Gordon interest. He costs more than twice the price of Diaz and Gakpo, who are both better in my opinion. I'll do my best to answer that in 1 second, mate. Oh, that's done. Cool. He's homegrown, so that's immediately going to set you back more money. He's a Liverpool fan. He's a local boy. He's improving season on season in the Premier League. And yes, it would be a hefty price tag. You're probably looking at about 70 million quid. But all I can do is tell you that he likes the club. He'd love the move. The club are very fond of Gordon. Many things have been written to say that the club can still and probably will revisit this down the line. I'm not trying to sell you the vision to say that he's the best solution. I can only tell you what's possible. And Gordon and Liverpool, there is a lot of fondness there on both sides. What do I think about Bakayoko? I don't know enough about him, Issa. Wasn't blown away by any of that Belgian team at the Euros, and don't really watch PSV Eindhoven, so don't know if he is it or not. Now, Doku, it looks like we missed a beat there. We'd monitored Jeremy Doku for a long, long time, since he was 17, and then City made the move and got him. So I don't know on Bakayoko. I really haven't got enough of a sample size of viewing to tell you if he's good enough or not. What about Rafinha? Oh, God, no. No, it's not good enough. 2 hit and miss. Barca want rid. No for me on Rafinha. Matoma's too old. Too old, Paul. Yeah, just not it. Matoma either, I don't think. I've read Gordon is signing an improved contract at Newcastle. What you've probably read is that they're going to offer him an improved contract, which they may well do. But that doesn't mean the end of anything. That contract could have a release clause in it. That contract could have a clause in it that if Liverpool come a calling, they have to listen to a certain number. Signing a new deal doesn't mean anything. Coutinho signed a new deal and fucked off. Like, football is littered with stories of people who've signed a new deal and moved on. Newcastle, regardless of any interest from Liverpool or not, are going to have to put him a new deal on the table anyway, because he's only got 23 months left on his current deal. I can't believe they only signed him on a 3.5-year deal when they signed him. When David Lynch told me that, I was astounded. So he has a good negotiating standpoint now with Newcastle. And whatever they say to the kid, they were willing to sell him. He was the first one that they were willing to kick out the door of the big signings when they had financial issues. So I don't buy the whole PR exercise from Newcastle trying to limit the damage that they caused by offering the kid around. So I think, like I've said all along, I don't think we've heard the end of it. Even if he signs a new deal at Newcastle, I still don't think we've heard the end of Anthony Gordon in Liverpool. Yamal, come on now, let's be realistic. Yamal's going nowhere. He's Barcelona through and through and will stay there. They've already turned down a 250 million quid inquiry from PSG. So yeah, Yamal ain't going anywhere. Tanya said, O'Reilly, thoughts, Craig? I don't watch Celtic, so the kid must have something about him, because lots of clubs are looking at him. Atalanta, Juventus, I think one of the Premier League clubs, don't know if it was Bournemouth or somebody else. Celtic have rejected 1 or 2 offers. That's all I know about him, Tanya. So yeah, sorry, I can't really add anything to that conversation. Adeyemi, no truth to us having any interest there. Player certainly wants to move away. Would love to come to the Prem, but it won't be with Liverpool. Is Harvey still outside? No, Dave, my wife came home in the meantime and she's let him back in, mate. Don't worry, I wouldn't have left him out there. Mbeumo's better than Gordon. Mbeumo's only 2 years older and has a far greater goals and assists than Gordon. Gordon has only had 1 season with more than 6 goals and assists, and that was last year. I feel like, Ash, you're kind of having a pop at me about this. I don't make the decisions, mate. Like, just because you or I think Embuemo or somebody's a better player, that doesn't really change anything if the club aren't looking at the guy. You know, I can only tell you what I know, and I know the fondness is there for Gordon. I don't know. Maybe there is a fondness there for Embuemo. Maybe Embuemo will be the person that replaces Salah. I don't know. But, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. And, you know, it's not me who said it isn't happening or is happening. There's a lot to admire about Brian Embuemo. You're right. He's a really good worker. Very technically good. Stepped up big time when Tony was banned. Was really good for Brentford. But I've not seen anything to say we're into him. Now, you know, Michael Edwards could pull one of them out of the bag and go... And look, if we signed Embuemo, I think I'd get it. I totally understand it. Yeah, I wouldn't be against it, mate. I just don't think it's likely. It's crazy we've not signed anyone yet. I don't understand what they're doing. Taking their goddamn time. And look, you're right to be frustrated. It's difficult. Do you think Tony would do a better job up front than Darwin? No, I don't. I really don't. I've made my bold prediction for this year that Darwin's scoring 35. Yeah, no, I don't. I think even the interest in Tony is waning from Premier League clubs at the minute. You know, at one stage it looked like he was guaranteed he was moving on, and now it's kind of up in the air. Yeah, so I keep Darwin over him. Craig, I don't know if you've spoken about Arne Slot basically saying we'll be signing players this summer. Yes, look, Hacks, he did say that, you're right, he said he'd be surprised if no players were added in. But I think the belief has always been that the aim is to sign players this summer. The aim is to sign 3. That's the briefing. That's what all the journalists have written about. Everybody seems to be in the same page that a centre-back, a midfielder and a forward is the shopping list. But here we are, you know, nearly at the end of July. The season starts in 3 weeks and we haven't made a signing. And we're the only Premier League club that hasn't made a signing. That concerns me massively, and I'm sure it concerns you guys. Rival here. How could you say Klopp plasters over a lot of the cracks at Liverpool and no one will live up to him, but think you'll still be competitive? So, I don't believe I've said those words, Keane, for a start, mate. I said Klopp papered over the cracks of the cheapness of our owners. I said nobody will come in and be Jurgen Klopp. But I still think the squad that we have, with a coach in Arne Slot who I believe in, is still going to make us competitive. I don't understand what your big issue is there. I'd be more concerned about how you guys, United, well, you say rival, actually I don't know if you're United fans. It's probably not fair for me to push that on you, Keane, but nobody will live up to Jurgen Klopp from the perspective of the role model, the figurehead, the charisma, the speaking to power, for many other reasons outside of football. Nobody will live up to Jurgen Klopp because he is a larger than life figure. And yeah, he papered over the cracks for the owners. But I think the coach we have now is still going to do that papering as well. I think the difference is now is the spotlight will be more on the owners because we knew what Jurgen was and was capable of. But we will still be competitive. I've no doubt in my mind about that. Despite what anybody else from opposition fan bases think, write us off this season at your peril. We're going to be in and around those top positions. That's what I feel as a fan. Slot said they were waiting for the right player, said Russell. I mean, what would you rather us say? Sometimes, like, if Alex Ferguson left United, right? Since Matt Busby, there's not been another Sir Alex. Does that mean that, you're never going to expect to win that again? Because they've got a manager that isn't quite Sir Alex or Wenger at Arsenal. Klopp was special. He meant more to us than, just football in context. But I think there's some fairness in what you've said as well, Keane. I think it is a valid question because these owners are cheap. And they get away with too much. They get too much free reign for my liking from some fans. And also, one thing that people don't seem to acknowledge enough, the people who are happy to wait till August, the people who've always said that everything will be done in August, August will be great. I think they need to acknowledge that August is a difficult month anyway, because the desperation creeps in. The chance to replace a player a club's losing diminishes, making it more likely you'll have to overpay for that player. So I don't get these people who always just want to say everything will be done and we'll wake up tomorrow and it'll be all done. All we can do is comment on what has happened to this point. And what has happened to this point has been SFA. Not even a contract renewal. And we are more than halfway through the window. We're probably 60% of the way through the window. And we haven't even extended the players whose contracts are running down in a year. So, with all the best intentions and best will in the world, I'm not buying the excuses. I'm not buying that there isn't players out there available. And I'm going to keep shouting and pushing and talking until we get them in. Because it's getting more and more difficult as the weeks go by. Do you think clubs will be less willing to part when it comes to August? Some, of course. For instance, let's say, as an example, Liverpool wanted to sign Murillo from Nottingham Forest, right? And Forest lose their first 2 or 3 games in the Premier League season. Do you think that they're going to want to lose their centre-back then? Do you think they're going to want to weaken their team and potentially stare down the barrel of a relegation? Or if we're doing it with a team that starts off really well in the Bundesliga, and maybe they have eyeing a Europa League place that they wouldn't have had before, and they get off to a great start, they're not going to want to weaken their team. So I've always had it in my mind that the weekend of the Premier League starting is when the window closes in my mind. It doesn't, of course. It closes on the 30th of August at 11 p.m. But that's the aim. The aim should be to have everything for the kickoff of the season. Not when the window closes, because we could already be playing catch-up by that point. So I've never been that calm. But, if I don't start giving somewhat the benefit of the doubt, all I'm going to do every day is just come on and be angry. So they're the 2 choices I think I have at this moment in time. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But look, we will be back tomorrow. I'll see you guys at 8:45 for the late night agenda, as we always do, and then we'll be back tomorrow night as well for the watch along of the game against Real Betis, which is going to be interesting. Obviously, first time we're going to properly see an Arne Slot Liverpool side, and can't wait. If you're heading over to the game, if you're in the United States, enjoy it. Lovely to have the team over there. I always feel delighted for fans who get to see the first team up close when they're from different parts of the world. Do check out the podcast as well, and don't forget, 1 week until our live shows, Cardiff and Liverpool, and you can get your tickets. The poll that we asked is, was Caicedo's £150 million bid a PR stunt? And 66% of you guys said, yes, Craig, we believe it was a PR stunt. I have to say, I don't, but I can understand why you would. So love you all to bits. Thank you again for your support, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Have a good one.